Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Karie and Angela show.
Love it.
Thank you for listening last week. It is an honor to be able to sit here and have a conversation openly and from love. And one of our comments from last time posted on Facebook was, "Bravo, please let this conversation continue until the time we exist as one beautiful tapestry. We can get there." And for that reason, I think we both were like, okay, we'll do it again and just
Right.
see what happens. So here we are.
Here we
How
are.
was your week?
What'd you say?
How was your week?
Oh, my week was good. Yeah, it was good. Celebrated a happy ending to my presidency for NAVO.
Yay,
So,
congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
That's
How was
awesome.
your week?
It was good.
Okay.
It was funny when I reached out to Angela this week, I said, how was your week? And she said, well, what I think a question we could ask is, what has everyone done since the last conversation, just to kind of see what's out there. And I was
Right.
like, oh, I don't feel like I've done enough, but a little bit here and there. So,
And it's truly all it takes, Karie.
yeah,
It's just, one step at a time and just, diving in wherever you see the most value.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot. And then today is Juneteenth.
It's Juneteenth. And
Juneteenth.
so Juneteenth is the day that we commemorate the ending of slavery. So
Mm-hmm.
it ended in January of, what was it, 1853 or 65, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was actually commemorated in Texas.
Yep. It's
And
actually
so,
like a holiday. Like people I've
right,
talked to over the last week have been like, oh yeah, I'm in Texas. It's always been that. I'd never heard of it until this year.
yes.
So
And so,
another new nugget of knowledge.
right. And you know what's so funny, even as a Black woman, it was never even, it's probably sad to say, it was never even anything that was in our history book. And so we weren't taught about it.
Mm-hmm.
And even as a family, I didn't talk about it with my daughter, or wasn't
Mm-hmm.
talking about it in our household. But as I've gotten older, I've learned a little bit more about it, and so we're able to talk about it
Yeah, it's
today.
good. Good
It is
stuff.
really
And I found someone put up a little cartoon that I show my girls, and I actually might even put it in the Facebook just so that people can watch it. It's just a little video of someone talking about what it is and what it means and the date. So another
so
nugget of
sweet.
knowledge.
I know.
That's what we're all about. Nuggets of knowledge. So, what are we going to talk about today?
I mean, since we're on history, let's just
Mm-hmm.
share. I graduated in '94,
I was
and
93, just so you know.
so the year I graduated from high school, some of the Black kids wanted to wear an African garb with their
Mm-hmm.
cap and gown.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I guess when that happened, some of the white kids said that if we wear our African garb, then they'll wear their Nazi swastika. And the superintendent actually said it was okay. And so I grew up in a small town in Illinois, and really the school was in turmoil. It was almost like a race riot happened. I remember walking into class, and this might get censored, but I remember walking into a class, and this guy called me a nigger, and he said no, he called me a nigga, and he said that it's okay, it's okay. I didn't say nigger. And so, that was one of the memories that that I have in my mind. And I remember when I saw him the next day, he was beat up, and so, just even being able to thinking that he could use a slang word
Mm-hmm.
over a time where there was so much turmoil
Mm-hmm.
really it created a lasting impact on my life, because I had never been called that by a white person before.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure it probably scarred him as well. So
Yeah. I
that
mean,
was '94.
and that's not that long ago.
No, I'm
It,
young.
we're super young.
Super young.
I had a conversation with a friend, a mentor in the industry that I'm in, and she told me about a book called Nickel Boys, and I'm reading that right now. And that is a really hard book to read about history and how Black boys were treated. And it's so, I'm in a little happy white bubble is really what I'm in, especially here where I am in my world. there's very little color. And it's just, it's heartbreaking that it was that recent. And
Right,
I didn't even know about it.
right,
I mean,
right.
I think I saw one blurb on CBS Sunday Morning. They did a special on it when they extracted the bodies, and it's just unreal. Like it's
You know, and our unfortunately our history is riddled with so many stories like that.
mhm.
And you know, and you as you dive in further, you'll probably hear and see more.
Yeah,
That probably be disturbing. So,
yeah, yeah,
but you know, but it's great that even you know, I know we talk about what can we do, and it's really just taking those small steps to learn about our history and how our history continues to play a role in where we are today. And if we don't know our history, then how can we begin to make the changes that's necessary to move
right,
our communities and country
right.
forward.
So, so true.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the word articulate?
Yes, we can talk about the word
So when I originally reached out to Angela, I said, I would like to talk to you because I just feel like you're so articulate. Like I love how you speak and your cadence and everything. And she was like, well, tell me what you say what you said. Like it
If
was,
I recall correctly, I said, you know, I understand what you mean,
mhm.
but I would caution you going forward on telling another Black person that they're articulate.
And I
And
was
so,
like, what? Like, what? Because I told Angela before we got on the call, I had just done an exercise on Facebook, which was for a branding workshop. And it was like, ask people for 5 adjectives that describe you. And I'm like, nowhere on that board was Karie's articulate. It's not a word like Angela's going to carry the conversation because she's super articulate. But then she educated me and told me why that could be offensive to people.
right, especially people of color, because
Mm-hmm.
typically Black people were uneducated.
Mm-hmm.
And so early in the history when a Black person was deemed articulate, it was because they were educated. So when you say that to a Black person, oh, you sound articulate, then ultimately the expectation from what we're hearing, so the expectation is that Black people are not educated
Mm-hmm.
and we're not able to speak well. And
Okay,
so
tell me
that's
about your education right now. Because
so
I'm a college dropout for everyone who knows. My dad calls Michigan State almost mater. I am not a highly degreed person, decorated at all.
okay.
What are your degrees? What's going on there?
The great part about it is we don't have to have a degree to be articulate, right?
Yeah.
But have a I have a master's in human dynamics, my bachelor's in business management. I have a Six Sigma Green Belt certification, and I've spent time at, you know, in director level positions, and I continue to educate myself. I'm trying to decide if I want to go back to get my doctorates. And I'm like, ah, it's the
Yeah.
last piece of the puzzle.
So I feel like that makes you articulate, and not just because you're Black, but
Right.
because I have like no college degree. Like I just it's so. But it was interesting to have that conversation, and then all week long I just kept thinking about it. I'm like, why was that? Why could that be? And I didn't ask you to dig further until today, and then you did, and it was like, oh, okay, like that's something I can do.
Right. And you know, it's one of those things where we have to be cognizant of the stigmas that are placed on different cultures,
Hmm.
especially when we're having conversations, because we can offend easily without even knowing, without trying to offend.
Hmm.
And if you have someone that might not be as forgiving, then
Hmm.
it could trigger. And so you know, we just all want to be mindful, and it's, you know, as a society as a whole.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I think that that helps, and having these conversations afterwards, right?
Hmm.
So one of the things that can one of the things I think that continues to separate people is, Karie, had you not come back to me and said, oh my, you know, why is that offensive?
Hmm.
You would have carried that, or you might
Yeah.
have would have thought, oh my gosh, Angela's upset with me, or whatever the case might be.
Hmm.
And that definitely wasn't the case.
Hmm.
But stopping in those moments and say, hey, could you really explain that to me? Or come, or, you know, circling back around, I think that's how you begin to move the conversations forward and
Right.
really get a clearer understanding on the things that we don't
Right. Yeah. That's it. And out of
know.
love, like in the end,
Yeah,
that's
it
the
is.
most important thing because I think it wasn't my intent. The spirit behind the comment wasn't that. It was like, you're really freaking smart, and
Yeah.
I love you, and I want to hear more from you. And it was like, it was taken a totally different way that I never would have hadn't I
Yeah.
asked.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
you know,
interesting.
and I say that because, you know, in this, we do live in a society where people get offended so easily,
Mhm.
you know, and things, there are triggers for so many different people. And that is one of the easiest ways to break down barriers, is if we just, you know, have conversations in
Right.
love. Love and
Exactly. That's
light.
right. That's right. And it doesn't all need to be like, hippie love and light, but like
Right,
literally, like the spirit behind it needs to be love, and like really genuinely wanting to become more educated about it and have more empathy for all things.
right.
It's just being human in my mind.
It is. It
But
is. Yeah.
yeah.
And I was reminded by my aunt that we all have our own belief systems. We all have our own lenses that we look through.
Hmm.
And being willing to take a step back and say, you know what, maybe my lens is a little bit off,
Hmm.
you know, and maybe I can look at it from someone else's perspective and not just my own.
Right.
And that'll also help bridge the gaps too, especially as people share stories, not looking to really poke holes in their stories, or say that their experiences aren't valid or real.
Hmm.
Because I've been seeing a lot of that on Facebook and other social media platforms, where people are ultimately saying that your experiences aren't relevant, or they're not valid, or it's history, get over it.
Hmm.
And you can't simply get over it.
No,
So,
it's made us who we are today,
yeah.
the good and the bad.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I, even this past week, a couple people called up and just were talking about the interview, and they were like, the story about her daughter getting pulled over in Scottsdale. Like,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
just don't, it never happens.
No,
And it's just, but it is happening.
it is.
We need to talk about it.
Yeah, we
So
do.
thank you for sharing that too, because that's not the best, most fun thing to share.
Right. Yeah, it isn't.
All right. So should we wrap it up until next week and do another one next week?
We definitely
Leave
can.
your comments below. I've always wanted to do that.
No. So I'll end with a quote that I heard. I heard three doctors, and they have a platform, and next week I'll have to share their platform, but they were talking about race in America. But one of the ladies has shared a quote, and I'm not quite sure who she got it from, but she said, until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are, change will never happen. And, you know, just everyone that's watching it, we appreciate you watching for
Yes,
sure. And, you know, everyone plays a role in
that's
making
right.
sure that we have the best society ever.
That's right. Love and light.
Love and light.
All right. Tune in next week.
Soon.